Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs, where we show you how to build a successful business and to have a life too. We're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time and to get off the treadmill so we can experience a life of significance. And now, your host and the author of the #1 best-selling business book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, Chuck Blakeman.
Hi, and welcome back. This is Chuck Blakeman, and today we're going to have some fun. This is a little off the beaten track for us normally. It's still about business, but it's going to be about the art and science of personal change and how we continue to grow as business owners. I think this is fundamental to us being good at what we're doing, is having a curiosity for life and having this willingness and this ability to change. So we're going to talk about change today and how we can do that in a way that will keep us growing and keep us really on the cutting edge of being able to be great business owners. My friend John Heenan, who lives in Belfast, Ireland, says, change is good. You go first. I think it's a book title I want to use at some point. We're going to cover 4 questions as we talk about change today. Can we change? Should we change? Will we change? And then, if we should, how should we change? So can we, should we, will we, and how will we? So let's start with, can we change? Well, this is a fun one. Neurology has really gotten into this in the last, 10, 20 years, probably less. The question is, can we truly measurably change, or are we largely just an expression of our DNA and our family of origin? This goes to the nature versus nurture question. So can we change? The answer is absolutely. Not only can we change, neurology has taught us that there is one system, one organ in our body that wants to change. Everything else wants to stay the same. Our heart wants to stay the same. Our fingers, our kidneys, our brain, they all want to stay the same. But there's one system that wants to change. It's our nervous system. It wants change. It expects it, and it's looking for it. What can I change? It's always on the alert. How can I change? What can I change? I'm excited to change. Let's change something. So change is not, can we change? It's actually not optional. If you want to keep growing as a human being, we are built fundamentally for change. Our nervous system is looking for it. We're built to do it. So can we change? Yes. Should we change? Well, change is the vehicle for becoming competent, in my opinion, and staying competent. Without change, we're dead in the water. There's an old saying that says you can only coast going downhill. We can't stay the same. And if you're trying to stay the same, you will probably coast downhill. There's 4 levels of competence. Change is the vehicle for it. And we find 4 levels of competence. Conscious competence. Hey, I'm aware that I'm really good at this. Conscious incompetence. Hey, I'm aware I'm really bad at this. Unconscious incompetence. I don't know that I'm not good at that. I think I might be. And then unconscious competence. And that's the one that we really want to work at, is to get to the point where there's so many things that we're doing that they're reflexive and they're really good things for us. We're competent at these things and we just do them by the seat of our pants because we can, because we've worked at them hard. We've worked at change to the point where we now have these new habits and this new way of looking at life in one specific small way. So can we change? Yes, we can, and we have to. Should we change? Yeah, if you want to keep growing, you better be changing. If you want to be competent and stay in the driver's seat in your business, you need to be willing to keep changing. And then the third question is, will we change? This is where it starts to get interesting, and we'll slow down in the next few questions. But will we change? It's my choice. My nervous system wants to change. It's standing on alert. Please, let's change. This is fun. I can decide I don't want to. It's my choice. Do I embrace my nervous system's response to the world around me and its desire for change? Or do I hunker down and just do what I've been doing and atrophy over time? In another podcast, we're going to talk about the 5 sets of muscles that we regularly need to exercise in order to grow as human beings. And I'll talk about those 5 later. One of them is our physical muscles. The other four have to do with things that will cause us to change. So I'll just leave that hanging there, and you can play with it in a podcast that will be coming soon. The idea here is we want what we call learning agility. Learning agility. It is the key to change. I'm agile about learning. I'm always willing to take a left turn or a right turn. It's not about do you have opinions or don't you. Everybody knows I have really strong opinions. And a lot of times they sound dogmatic. This is the way things have to be and there's no other way. Until I find there's another way. So I'm all for having really strong opinions. And based on what I know today, I'm going to do this. And learning agility says, and I will tack onto that anytime that I find that what I'm doing is not the best that I could be doing for me or the world around me, I will change on a dime. So go ahead and have your strong opinions and be set in your ways that you know are working until you find out that there's a better way. And boy, then learn and be agile. Carol Dweck wrote a book about mindsets. She talks about two mindsets, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And you can guess which one has learning agility, the growth mindset. I'm always growing. I'm always looking not for the next answer, but the next question. And then, of course, get the answer to that. But while you're getting to the answer for that, find the question in it. That's learning agility, growth, growth, growth. Fixed mindsets have a much more difficult time in life, are much less happy, all sorts of problems with that. But it's our choice. Will we change? We get to decide whether we want to or not. We all have to understand that if we say no, you can't coast unless you coast downhill. If you say no to change, you will begin to atrophy in all the different ways in your life. It'll be a slow process, but it will happen. And it is the road to not being competent as a business owner. Can we change? We absolutely can. Should we change? We absolutely must if we want to keep growing. Will we change? Our choice. Let's decide we want to change. What happens if you want to change? There's a lot of ways to talk about this. The simple, profound thing around this that I learned from a guy named Art Radke probably 20 years ago had a simple statement. If you want something to change, you have to change something. Now, too often these things sound simplistic, but there's real power in simple. And this is not simplistic, this is simple. If you want something to change, you have to change something. So we have to talk about what it is that needs to be changed. Let's start with mindset things like Carol Dweck says. One of the mindsets we need to change is the idea around stress. Stress is actually absolutely essential to life. It is how we grow. From coming out of the birth canal to the day we die, there is stress involved in our lives. And if we use it well, it makes us better at life. It prolongs life. It makes us happier, stronger, healthier human beings who have a bigger impact in the world around us. So don't write stress off. Of course, there's different kinds of stress. Long-term, chronic, burdensome stress. That's not good for anybody. A long-term, chronic, stressful view of the world. The world is a dangerous place. That's not going to serve you. It's actually short bursts of stress, just like exercising in a gym. You don't want to go to the gym and just be there 24 hours a day. It's not going to work out well. I go once every 7 days because the neurology shows me that it takes me 6+ days to rebuild everything that I've destroyed. Because when I go to exhaustion. So it's about getting out there and understanding that stress is good. It's how we build all the muscles in our life. It's essential to life and it's how we grow. So I've coined this statement for myself over the last maybe 5, maybe 10 years, time flies. We are made for the struggle. Stress is essential for life. It's how we grow. Therefore, we are made for the struggle, but not to struggle. We're not made to struggle. We're made for the struggle. So let's parse that for a quick minute. If you're going to the gym, there's 2 ways to go to the gym. One can be that you're going for the struggle. You know you're going for the struggle. That's what you're there for. It's going to be hard. That's why you went. You knew before you got there. And you're excited about it. And every rep that hurts, you're happy about because you're made for the struggle. It may not feel good, but you know that it's good for you. So we are made for the struggle. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at struggle is to struggle. So you go to the gym, you don't really want to be there. and you really don't like the idea of what's happening, and you hate working out there, and you whine the whole time, you are struggling. That's to struggle. We are made for the struggle, but we're not made to struggle, to view it as a struggle. We view it as building muscles, and it's a different view of life. So that's being curious, leaning in. Can't emphasize that enough. How do we change? We are curious and we lean into everything, including maybe even especially the things that we are the most adamantly confident about. How do we change? We're made for the struggle, but not to struggle. So stop stressing, stop struggling, and fall in love with the process of life and of learning as a business owner. Fall in love with good stress. Really fall in love with it, lean into it, say, oh boy, here it goes again. And I'm excited. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to grow because that's what stress does. It helps me grow. If you do it right and you do it in short bursts on a regular basis. Another idea on how we change, knowledge is actually part of the problem. We think that knowledge is power, and we think that we're supposed to be absorbing lots and lots of knowledge and that it will somehow change us. The Greeks actually had a saying, something like this: you think your way to a new way of acting. You know, if you just fill your head with enough stuff, it'll somehow magically come out your fingers. And nothing in life or in science supports that. The Romans later on actually had a better way of viewing it. They had kind of the flip-flop. They said you act your way to a new way of thinking and being. And that's really in line with what we, in modern neurology and in modern life, we understand to be true. You don't think your way to a new way of acting, you act your way to a new way of thinking. It wouldn't matter how many books you read when you tried to learn how to ride a bike. You'd still have to get on the bike. And it was the act of riding the bike that changed the way you thought. And you got off the bike a different human being than when you got on. We think knowledge is power, but it's not. We think knowledge changes, but it doesn't. If knowledge was power, librarians would rule the world. It's not, and they don't. So how does this work? Well, I love Albert Einstein. People think Albert Einstein was a cognitive. He was a reasoning, rational. And I would suggest to you that he was not. And I don't think he even saw himself that way. I think he was an intuitive. And many of his statements lend credence to that idea. Here's a loose quote from Albert Einstein, and it's not exact, but it is in the ballpark. We have been given the gift of intuition and the faithful servant of rational thought, but we have created a society that worships the servant and has forgotten the gift. So the servant is rational thought, and we worship rational thought. That's what our education system has taught us to do: worship the rational thought. And we've forgotten intuition. We dismiss intuition, and again, the education system is the first to dismiss it. It's a feeling, right? What's intuition? It's a feeling. No, it is not. Intuition is at a much higher level than cognitive or rational thought. In fact, Einstein did say intuition is the highest form of human intelligence. And I believe that. And there's a lot of neurology behind that idea. So head knowledge does not change us. It's heart knowledge that changes us. And let's talk a little bit more about that as we go. One of the things we should understand about change is the idea of habits. Habits are our best friend or our worst enemy, depending on how you're using them. If you have a habit of doing something that's really helpful, it's hard to break. So when we get into good habits, they become a real friend. And if we get into real bad habits, they become worst enemies. So if you choose an unhelpful act just once, your brain begins to rewire to form a habit around that one act. This is neurology. I'm not making this stuff up. If you choose a helpful act, our brain begins to rewire in that direction. I've seen MRIs of people who didn't work out and then used to work out, who were alcoholics and stopped, who were sexaholics and stopped, who were lazy and just didn't want to ever do anything and then got invigorated. And you can see side-by-side pictures of their before and after brains. And even as a layperson, you can see the difference in their brains. Their brains rewire to form habits, no matter which ones you choose. So as Yoda would say, choose wisely and rewire anytime you desire. Isn't that a wonderful thing? For years, for decades, there was this idea that it was all about nature. You were born with personality and all your fears and all your strengths and all your weakness. It's all there when you're born. And we just have to live it out. We're stuck with it. That's who I am. No, every minute of your life, no matter how old you are, you can choose to change and begin to rewire your brain at any time. And your whole neurological system is standing there waiting for you to say, let's do this. I'll give you two ancient Greek words to help you with this idea of head knowledge and what we call heart knowledge, knowledge of the life. Gnosis starts with a G, gnosis is knowledge of the head. 2 plus 2 is 4. Or, hey, a stove is hot. That's knowledge of the head. Epignosis is knowledge of the life. You put your hand on a hot stove and you get burnt. That's knowledge of the life. That's how it applies. So I understand this with my head, but here's how it applies. Gnosis is comprehended knowledge. Epignosis is embodied or applied knowledge. Gnosis is in your brain, and the other one is in your body. The other one's called epignosis. That's applied knowledge. That's knowledge of the heart, knowledge of the life, and it's in your body. Gnosis says, I know of something. I know of, I know about, say, boating, being in, learning how to operate a boat. I know of it. I read a book about it. Epignosis is, I know boating. I've gone out many times and I have steered a boat. That's epignosis. So we're going to talk about those and how important those two things are and how we've really screwed this up for decades, probably a few centuries. Gnosis is about nature. It's just the way I am. It's just, it's my personality. Epignosis is about nurture. I am built to change. I am born and then I continue to change if I want to the rest of my life. Gnosis is about certainty. It thrives on certainty. Every day should look the same. I just want things to be the same all the time. Epignosis is about uncertainty. It actually looks for uncertainty. Every day is an adventure that starts and ends with questions. Do you run towards certainty and run away from uncertainty? I understand that because we're still hunting mastodons in our head. We are in survival mode too often. We see the world as a dangerous place. And the more certainty we have, the more we feel safe from ever dying. But that's not how you grow. You have to get out on the edge. Uncertainty is the worst of human conditions, and it is also the best. Well, it's the worst because we don't like uncertainty, but it is the best because that's how we grow. Get up every morning and ask yourself, where is the uncertainty today? What do I not know? What do I not understand? What can't I really apply yet? Who can I meet that can stretch the way I view life? Look for the uncertainty in life. You thrive on that. Gnosis thrives on I desire to become. Epignosis thrives on I am right now. Now, there's a couple of very obscure words to describe these two positions, these two mindsets. Gnosis thrives on I desire to become. There's a word for that, and it's called velleity. I couldn't even pronounce it when I first heard of it many years ago. Velleity, to be vallacious. Velleity is simply the true desire. You really want this thing. Heart of hearts, yeah, I want this. The true desire with no intention of doing anything. Wouldn't it be great if someday I'm going to? I sure hope that. That's all velleity. It feels good, it feels right, because you really do want it, just not bad enough to do anything about it. And a lot of times velleity actually causes us to think we've done something because there's such a strong dreaming mindset around velleity. And you think so much about what it is you wanted to do if you ever did anything, that it makes you feel like you're moving, when in fact you're not. I desire to become. Boy, that's a difficult place to be. I prefer the epignosis mindset of I am. So velleity is the true desire with no intention of doing anything. Here's the ancient word for the positioning of I am, I'm after it. Conation, to conate, not cognate, not cognition, conate, to conate. Conate is the will to succeed that manifests itself in single-minded pursuit of a goal. My favorite slang definition of conation is, I want something so bad, I'm already doing it. Are you waiting until January 1st to stop smoking and it's mid-October? You're going to chain smoke until then because you know you have to quit? That's velleity. It's never going to happen. Even if you quit, you'll be back at it in a few weeks. If you know that you should stop smoking, then you put the cigarettes away today. That's conation. I want something so bad, I'm already doing it. I don't desire to stop smoking. I am a non-smoker. I believe that the most powerful two-word phrase in every language, well, however they say it, in English is I am. And then whatever follows that, you are building your story. I am a powerful human being. I am a sad person. I am deficient. I am efficient. I am a learner. I'm curious. I'm scared. I'm courageous. I am the state of being that I choose right now. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So we do not think our way to a new way of acting. We act our way to a new way of thinking. Get on the bicycle and start pedaling. So around this idea of change, we've had some things in place for a long time that we actually think help us, that some of the neurologists say, yeah, that stuff doesn't actually help you. Here's 3 things that we think help us change. And it turns out they actually don't. Truth. Truth will not change you. I know that I should stop smoking. And here's why. Because it might give me cancer. It has a high percentage chance of giving me cancer and lowering my quality of life. That's truth. Lots of people still smoking, even though they know that. Choice is the second thing that doesn't change us, and we think it would. Here's the truth. Stop smoking. And here's the choice. Use a gum with nicotine in it. And that can change things for you. So we have the choice. Choice won't change us either. And the third thing that won't change us is powerful experiences. And that's a tough one. There's a lot of gurus out there making millions of dollars a year, having you come back to their seminars over and over and over again to find truth. I'm going to tell you what to do, and I'm going to show you a choice of how you can change. And I'm going to have you do this really powerful experience. And you're going to feel so good for a week or 2 or a month. And 3 or 4 months later, you're going to be right back where you were, and you're going to go to another seminar, because truth, choice, and powerful experiences don't change us. So what does? What changes us? Number 1 is identity shift. The shift that happens inside my life, my body, my view of the world. The second thing that changes us is once we figure out that we need to have a different view of the world, we get into community with other people who have the same healthy mindset that we have. Alcoholics Anonymous says we can't help someone until they say, I'm an alcoholic. That's a mindset shift. That's not just knowing that alcohol at the consumption levels that they were using it was bad for them, but now they're saying, yeah, I got to do something about it. I actually am that, and I view the world differently. I am no longer going to drink alcohol. That's an identity shift. And then you get into community, go find Alcoholics Anonymous or other things. As a business owner, one of the ways we apply this is most business owners are actually not business owners. They just think they are because the IRS deceives them into thinking they are. Most business owners are income producers. And the way we know that is because if they aren't there, the income either stops being made or it starts to degrade pretty quickly. And 2 weeks later, you got a mess in your hands because Bob wasn't there. That's a problem because that's a mindset. I'm a business owner or I'm an income producer. An income producer's mindset, their view of the world, the way in which they view the world is, I am essential, and boy, if I'm not there, things are going to start falling apart. That is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you will make it come true. The other is also a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm a business owner. How do I know I'm a business owner? Because I am building a business that makes money when I'm not there. See the difference? An income producer says, I am making money. A business owner says, I am building a business that makes money, which implicit in that statement is, I don't have to be there all the time. That's an identity shift. And if you do that, then you want to get into a community with other people like our 3 to 5 clubs, where people all are pursuing the idea of being true business owners and stop being income producers. So identity shift is first. I view the world differently. Then I get into community with other people who can begin to help me change my languaging and my view of the world and my habits. And then the third thing that changes us is what's called attachment. I find one or two people in the world I can go deeper with, and I take walks with, and I get coffee with, and they're farther ahead on the path than I am. And they're just there to support and work with me and love me and keep me moving. So truth, choice, and powerful experience doesn't change us. Identity shift, community and attachment are what change us. New research also shows that the mind actually doesn't control the body. The body, in some cases, trains the mind, and they really co-regulate. They work together. We don't think our way to a new way of acting. We act our way to a new way of being and thinking. The body actually has a lot to do with this. So get out there and do things. Stop thinking about them and get moving on them. And don't be afraid if there's a few bumps in the road. It's how you learn. You won't learn it by getting it perfect on paper. I understand that good is the enemy of great, but I would also say that great is the enemy of good enough. And the only way we get to great is we start with good enough. Get the body moving, it's good enough. And as you get moving, you will find a better plan. So we need the new slide in our head. Before this podcast, you could say, I viewed the world this way, fill in the blank. And then I acted that way, or I acted that way, and that's how I viewed the world. A new slide in my head now says, I now view the world this way. And I love this analogy of a slide in my head because our mindset is like a slide projector, an old tiny slide projector. You put a slide in there and it projects out onto the wall. And we're doing that from inside our heads. We're projecting our view of the world out there onto the wall. And if we don't like the image we see, what do? We go over and we fiddle with the wall. We go to a seminar, we read a book, we do all kinds of things to try and change without actually changing anything inside. It starts with a new view of the world, a mindset shift. So I now view the world a very different way. Gnosis values information. Knowledge is power. No, it's not. We think our way to a new way of acting. No, we don't. Epignosis values motivation and emotion. Motivation to change is power, and we act our way to a new way of thinking and being. So fundamental to change is I decided to. I want something so bad, I'm already doing it that way. I now see the world a new way. I am. Not I desire to become someday. That's just validity. Whatever it is you think you're supposed to be doing, get after it. I'll give you a very good example of this in the form of a guy named Peter Arnell, who wrote a book called Shift, and he shifted. And the book wasn't just about him losing weight, but that was a small part of the text, but a powerful part of the story. He was, I think, 409 pounds. And he got down to 150 or 160, and he stayed there. And I don't care who you are, if you're 409 and you get down to 200, that's incredible. The next 40 or 50 pounds would be just amazing. And he went from 400 something to 150 or 60 and stayed there. And he did it with two things in it from his book. The first one was, he said, I decided to. Well, that's a mindset shift a little bit, but it's not really enough by itself. There's a lot of truth and a lot of choice in that, and maybe even a powerful experience, who knows? It was the second thing that actually changed him. He said, once I decided to become a 150-pound man, from that moment forward, here's the I am. It's not I desire to become. From that moment forward, I saw the world through the eyes of a 150-pound man. Do you see him changing the slide in his head? He was a 409-pound man in his head, and he viewed the world that way. And now he says, no, I'm not. Inside, I am already 150 pounds. And that may sound goofy and a little bit woo-woo-ish, but it works. And it works so powerfully that he went to one of his clients. He's a marketing guy, and he went to a very large company that apparently did something around, I don't know what, sweets or candies or, I don't know, chemical foods, I don't know. But it was something that he couldn't get behind as a 150-pound man. And he went to them in a few weeks and said, this may sound weird because I probably look like a 409-pound man, but I'm not. I'm a 150-pound man, and you are the client of a 409-pound man, and I can't have you as a client anymore. So I'm going to have to fire my client. Now that's conation. I want something so bad, I'm already doing it. I already am 150 pounds. Can you see the value in that? If you see yourself that way inside, now it's only a matter of getting the outside to be in congruence with what you already are inside. It's so much more powerful than constantly working on stop eating that cookie or don't smoke or uh, talk to people differently at work. So the mindset of change is to start with, I am. And near to the end, I want to say this: nature abhors a vacuum. The wrong way to change, because of that principle that is pretty close to true in everything, because of that, you don't want to stop smoking. You don't want to stop yelling at people at work. You don't want to stop being a workaholic. That'll never work. We need to add a helpful habit, and that helpful habit will push out the bad one. We've all heard the old analogy of the old story of a vase or a glass nailed to a table, and the glass is full of oil, and somebody says, how do you get the oil out of the glass, and you can't tip the table over and you can't break the glass? Well, the answer is you put water in there, and putting water in there forces the oil out. Add a helpful habit, and that will help you subtract the bad one. And then create ceremony around doing this. I don't know what Peter Arnell did to put a stake in the ground and say, I am right now going forward a 150-pound man. But it's good to do ceremony around that, because any change, going from college to working, getting married, there's lots of things that we have ceremony around because it signifies change. So have a ceremony, go away for a weekend, do something, whatever it is you need to do to have a ceremony, and then figure out what the new rituals, the new habits are that you will put in place to replace the old ones. Here was Peter Arnell's. Peter Arnell said, I'm going to eat oranges. I'm just going to always have oranges with me, and anytime I want some candy or snacks or anything, I'm going to pull out an orange. So he had oranges, I'm guessing, in his suit pockets and briefcase. And he said his fingers got orange from eating oranges. But it was a great strategy because you have to peel them. That takes time and energy. And there's not a lot in there. And they're actually not terrible for you, even though they're full of sugar. He's getting his sugar fix in a way. He had a new ritual that pushed out the old rituals of going after who knows what kind of bad food. And then the third thing is have clear goals. I intend to be a 150-pound man. Clarity is power. And when your vision is clear, your decisions are easy. Have clear goals. And then fourth, reward yourself. Don't be afraid to be in a place where every 5 pounds, or whenever you stop yelling for a whole 3 days at work, or you actually don't get involved in other people's stuff for 3 days because you trust them, you're becoming a business owner instead of an income producer. Reward yourself. Give yourself some kind of fun reward. That's a great way to do it. So add a helpful habit before subtracting one. Put in a ceremony with new rituals. Understand what your clear goal is and reward yourself along the way, not just when you get there. All right, the mindset of change. I decided to. I now see the world a new way. I am fill in the blank. So my question to you today is, what is your new I am? What is that thing that you've been constantly struggling against and you pushed on and you tried to stop? You're running away from something. What if you ran toward being something? What is it I am for you today? I am powerful, or I am gentle, or I am a listener, or I am courageous. There's so many things you can fill that in with. Pick one and get your marching orders from that one. And begin today and see yourself new. Get that new slide in your head and say, I am now going to be doing it this way, or living life this way. And pretty soon the outside will just come in congruence with the inside. All right, this may sound easy, may not, but the fact is it's not easy, it's simple. And that's the power in change. Change is actually simple. It's just not easy. So I encourage you guys to go out today and think about what is your new I am. And I'll see you in the next podcast.
That wraps up another episode of the Get Off the Treadmill podcast. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button to ensure you are receiving the latest tools you need to grow your business and to get off the treadmill. If you want more information on the 3 to 5 Club, the Crankset Group, or to book Chuck as a business advisor, speaker, or workshop leader, you can contact us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.